when you're younger, this is what I think the foundation should be is learning how to so stick handling with stick handling with speed. So what I mean by that is getting up the ice with speed. Okay, I'm not talking about your hands being fast. Getting up the ice with speed. So what does that look like? Well, that looks like either a one-handed. I like following through on the backhand. Some guys like to push on their forehand, whatever works for you. I think this one mimics an actual skating stride more. Get into the backhand, right, and just touching it up. So you need to be able to do that. And I know that seems like okay, that's real hard for some. But here's the thing: what I find, and I'll do this with older guys too, is let's get it up the ice. You'll be surprised how many times a guy has to play with it because they just had improper form on the most simplest basic stick handling skill. So what happens on when you're just I hope everyone knows what I mean by this. So if you're going one-handed up the ice and you keep it on your backhand, you touch on your backhand, you got your full stride. If your hands and your elbows come in a little bit too much, now as you're pushing, you're going to have to adjust because now it's coming to the middle of your body, so it'll take away from your speed of your stride. So, okay, who cares? Oh, no, you have to care because this would be used, let's say I chip a puck off the boards and I'm on a partial break or a guy's coming across the ice to get me in, but I've got a little bit of an advantage. So basically, essentially, I'm on a little baby breakaway. If I have to, so my goal is to beat him down the ice. So my goal is to get as fast as I can down the ice. So the more that I have to play with the puck takes away from speed. There's going to be that seesaw. The more I play with it, less speed I have. It has to be that way, right? So that's why that one little movement is important. So it's like it might seem very, very simple, but it's something that needs to be practiced all the time so that you're in a especially high stress situation, 2-1 game, overtime game, whatever, and it's go time, you don't ever have to want to think about that. So the purpose of that stick handling, it's in my series, the purpose of that is that to eliminate thinking. The less I have to think when I'm going fast, the better. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So here again, does it sell? No. Like if you spend I don't spend hours on it, but I always revisit it. It's important.
That's your base, man.
It's a base.
It's a base move.
Yeah. The next one would be speed. So these are for young guys and older guys, but the foundation for young guys, what they should work on. The next one would be speed with a puck, but now we have to have some control. So speed and control. So a couple different types that we would do for that. It would be skating crossbody, right? So longer stride. Taylor Hall skates like that a lot. He's able to maintain his speed, but you no matter what, when you have a puck or stick, you're going to lose a little bit of speed. You have to. And then the next one would be in a crossover. Yep. Okay. So across your body, you just want to make sure, this is what makes it hard doing it on the podcast, is you want to make sure that your arms can flow properly. So what happens a lot of times when we do cross body stuff is when you want to get a full extension on your stride, but you also want to get a full extension out on your forehands and backhands. If you don't, what'll happen is you get your brain to do too many things at once. Because if you're trying to extend as far as you can with your toe, and you try to shortchange it on the upper body, then your brain's like it's frying itself.
Yep.
So you want to let that be a free motion. So like basically you're extending both ways.
Yep.
The next hard thing about this is keeping your head up. And I know it seems like, well, you're just skating forward. Yeah, but you're going with speed. You're wanting control. That's why it takes practice. And it's the basics, but it's a foundation you need so that you don't actually have to look at the puck.
Yep.
I mean, and if you do have to look at the puck, it's just your eyes a little bit. You might have to glance down a little bit every now and then, but you should really just know how to feel the puck.
Yep.
Okay. Now we go into crossovers, would be another speed and control one. And speed and control in a crossover is if there's linear crossovers. So what that means is if I'm in a crossover with speed, I want to go in a straight line. So we're basically taking 1 to 2 crossovers to maintain linear speed. And I want to keep my puck, I'm not going to say always in the middle of your body, because you could have it kind of on your forehand a little bit more and cheat
in
a little bit
in
that
the range.
Way. But you don't want the puck too far out of your feet.
It's kind of like in between your feet. I was going to say. Yeah.
Basically, that's my measuring stick for always being in control, is having it no wider than my feet.
Yeah.
Because you're in a strength zone there. As soon as you get out, you're going to get a little bit off balance. But what happens if you're trying to maintain speed in a crossover and you let the puck come outside your feet? Now all of a sudden the puck's controlling you. So you've got to follow that puck around a little bit, or you get off balance, or you slow down.
Yep.
So if I can keep that puck, so my hand in the middle of my body, and heads up, and I can cross over with speed, I'm in a pretty good position. And that really works well when you're coming in on D, like entering dots, pushing out. This is advanced, but entering dots, pushing out, pushing in, whichever way you choose to go, or whichever way you can get a guy's toes turning. Then it becomes very beneficial to you to have that crossover speed because you can change directions kind of quick.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this is another reason why it's really important to watch hockey games, because even the guys that are good, like the top guys, because everyone likes watching the highlights, whatever, watch the nice goals and whatever, that's fine. But see why guys scored. Like, see what they did building up to that play. So the whole time while you were talking, I just kept thinking about, I pulled it up, was the Austin Matthews, that overtime goal he scored, where it wasn't linear crossovers, but it was still controlling in the crossover, where he crossed over through the neutral zone back to his own blue line, had like the full head of steam, and just freaking blew by everyone. Do you remember this goal? It was like from a couple weeks ago.
No, I don't remember.
So it looked harmless, and he looked like he wasn't moving that fast. That's the other thing. So he built up that speed with the crossover. His hands were matching his feet coming through the middle, right? So he came back to his own blue, built up that head of steam, and it was hard to tell how fast he was moving. So the D just got walked. He just walked right by him, cut across, and tucked it on the far side, right? And it's stuff like that. You look at that and you go, oh, what a nice goal. He burned that D, whatever. It's like, yeah, but the 5 seconds before that, where he was maintaining crossover speed through the neutral zone to get by that guy, is why he scored that. And so there's little things you can pick up. These NHL guys do it all the time, and they might not even be able to tell you why it happened. They're just that good at it.
Well, they learn to adjust.
They learn, right? So anyways, that's why it's important. Like, you can pick a lot of this stuff up watching hockey. Like, these guys do this stuff all the time.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, so we got crossovers. Okay. So I don't know that a lot of people use this term of dribbling. I don't like the term, but I just, whatever we'll call it that.
It's a term. Yeah.
So the dribbling piece is when you're having like feet planted, kind of quicker hands, head up, but it's a real critical skill. So I'm going to add something to this, to the dribbling, is now the skating becomes very important, and for both of these actually. So one of my theories I have is, if you're skating, I don't know if I said this already. If you're skating with speed, so finishing off with your toe. So this is where it starts with the feet, stick handling. If you finish off with your toe of your feet, your puck should be finishing off at the toe of your blade. Did I say this already?
I mentioned that, yep.
Okay, and then and in this case, if I'm going into a dribbling where I plant my feet and I'm making a play, or I'm continuing to push off with my heels, okay, so most of your weight's going to be on your heels, head up, sunk back a little bit, then your puck is going to move back to the heel of your stick, more to the heel. So if you try actual stick handling, so a thing you could all try is go on your heels, lean back on your heels, and try having good hands with the toe of your blade. You're going to feel like, a turkey that's just been shot, right? And vice versa. If you go on your toes and try to stick handle on your heel, it doesn't feel right, doesn't work right, it's not right. So it's kind of like your feet and your stick are matching each other. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so you get the proper leans and stuff like that. So you want to learn how to dribble, and then you want to give some range of motion for that, is dribbling wide, and then combinations of those two, so that, like, if I come on a one-on-one, real simplest thing in the world is a hockey player move, is I'm coming down on you, either with speed or not. I have the puck in the middle of me, and I go 1, 2, 3, fake. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
but on purpose.
So this would be more. You're talking more like tight areas, like smaller spaces when you're doing that in tight. Small, like you could still be coming up with speed or whatever, but it's when you start to get close to somebody or something like that is when you start to turn on that quick dribbling, more on your heels to be a little bit more shifty or more agile.
But I'm keeping this like actually without the why yet. I'm keeping this more as just do the foundation because it's just getting the reps, because a lot of the times Danny Maggio, Zach Casson, they played together, right, in midget. And they were doing a lot of skating with me and stuff, and we worked on certain things over and over and over and over again, probably hours. And someone used to ask me all the time, like, well, how long do you have to do that for? I go, you're going to work one skill for hours and hours so that it works for 1/10 of a second in a real game. to be honest. Maybe not the best bang for your buck, but it is. And Maj one day called me because he got a point, or when he was playing up in junior, called me and he said, I got that whatever we were doing. He goes, I got it. Like it happened in a game there today. I said, yeah, there you go. All those hours for that one moment. It'll just come out. So that's why, like, I don't want to get too specific yet on the stick handling. It's just get the movement. So, and then the other thing is wide, and then of course learn how to handle it on the sides, right? And planting your feet, right? So it's learning how to use your heels for pushing, and then learn how to engage your feet while you're doing this, and always with your head up. And the last thing is make sure you can do it with turning. And one of the big mistakes that players make, again, this will be with your hand movements, is when you're turning. It might not seem like fancy stick handling, but it is. No, not fancy, but if you're turning on your forehand, what young people tend to do, and a lot of coaches do, is they'll get the crisscross in the hands.
Yeah.
So, and it's not bad. Sometimes it's usable. Like I was working with Ryan Kressler in Detroit one time, and he had a hard time just getting away from that because he did it all the time. And he was in the NHL for probably 12 years at the time, making $10 million, and didn't really care. No, he did. I shouldn't say he didn't really care, but it was like a habit that this one's not going to break and whatever. But for the most part, when you're turning on your forehand, people like to crisscross. But the problem with crisscrossing is it puts you in a position that, like I said before, every move you make, you want to have a counter move, or you want to be able to add something to it at any moment. So if you crisscross your arms or your wrists, stick, whatever, it's hard to do it on the camera, like without a stick in my hands. At some point, if you had to make a play, you can't do it because you're in a bad position. Whereas if you took it and you learned how to manipulate it where your hands come to your hips, so as you're skating and you just do a little slip move and you keep your top hand at your hip, so I'm a left-hand shot at my right hip, and guide that puck through and turn at the same time, your turns will be as tight. But at any point of that turn, you can shoot, pass, and make a play, which is very, very important. And the secondary piece to that is it's here. Someone on this side, you get that elbow, or you get this elbow up, you're actually protecting yourself too, protecting the puck. Give a guy an elbow in the face if you need to. I'm not saying that to be an ass, but like keep guys away from you a little bit so you can protect yourself a little bit. Going on your backhand, the biggest thing is, and I think if people pay attention to it, I'll see a lot of guys when they turn on their backhand, it just, a lot of times I'm talking older guys too. It might roll off the end of their stick. Happens a lot. And the only reason it happens is, number one, legs aren't deep enough. And number two is your bottom hand didn't slide, as we talked about earlier. So a lot of times if you go to turn on your backhand side, you have your hand stuck in one position. As you go to turn, especially tight, what happens is the puck starts to roll just a little bit. If you're not cupping it, I'm not a big fan of cupping it anyways, but it starts to roll. So if it rolls to the tip, now you got to think about it, or it just gets away from you, just simply because you didn't come down a quarter inch, or an inch, or whatever. Get down low. Then when you come back out of the turn, your hands come back to neutral. So it's really important stuff. So that right there, like if you go to our stick handling base, you'll get that foundation that you could do. You'll never get enough of it. That's for sure.